Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the NESG Academy Webinar. This is the July edition, and thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, you actually didn't hear me, but then the NESG Academy is the civic engagement, is the capacity building up of the NESG, which is the Nigerian Economics Summit Group. And what we do is civic engagement and education for the public, really. And in that bit, we do that through different initiatives, one of which is the webinar, the monthly webinar. This happens on a monthly basis. And in this regard, we facilitate knowledge sharing sessions, topics in key focus areas. And like I said, it's a knowledge sharing session. So we ask people to, to be open-minded, to see this as a learning avenue for them. And even when we get to the question and answer session, let's any areas that are gray, throughout the period of, the presentation or, the chat with the speakers, let's ask questions. Basically, let's be open-minded to learn in this session. So this month, we're focused on sustainability. We know, of course, we have like the different SDG goals, there's 17 of them. But yeah, we're keen on, sustainability within the corporate environment. So this month, to do justice to this topic, we have Professor Franklin Ngwu. I'm going to read a profile summary because it's quite vast, right? But I'm just going to read a brief summary of Prof, so we have an idea of who is speaking to us. Okay, so Prof, Professor Franklin Nnaemeka Ngwu is a seasoned academic, policy advisor, and a strategic management expert at the Lagos Business School, where he serves as the professor and director of the LBS Public Sector Initiative. He has previously directed the LBS Sustainability Center and recently concluded a role as the senior policy and research consultant with the African Development Bank Group. Prof holds advanced degrees in law, in economics, in political economy, and sociology from the University of Manchester, from Cardiff University, and the University of Lagos. With over 20 years of experience, Prof has taught and consulted across academia, private and public sectors in Nigeria and the UK, including engagements with institutions such as the Central Bank of Nigeria, different banks, Guarantee Trust Banks and the likes, Coronation Group, Bawa and Igodalo, Dangote Group, Nigerian Stock Exchange, just to mention a few. Prof has also held teaching roles at some prestigious UK universities, and he has worked at Barclays Bank, UK. His research spans corporate governance, banking regulation, economic policy, risk management, and development economics. Prof Ngwu has authored numerous academic publications and 4 major books, with the 5th one, the Cambridge Handbook of Banking in Africa, forthcoming. So let's look forward to that. Prof serves on various boards and advisory groups, including the UN SDGs Private Sector Advisory Group, Caritas Nigeria, and quite a number of organizations. He's affiliated with multiple professional bodies, including the Institute of Directors, which is now Chartered Institute of Directors, by the way, and even the World Economic Forum's Expert Network. So we see that we have a body of knowledge here with us. So if I were you, I would really open my mind to learn, to get the best of Prof today. So thank you so much for Prof for honoring our invitation. We appreciate you. You have the floor, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Kundaya, and good afternoon, everyone. And I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you, but we can't see your face yet. Yes.
Okay, I think because of, I'm trying to make sure that everything goes well. I mean, place, the internet seems to be fluctuating, but I'm sure you can see my face. You can see my picture, is that correct?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I think I'm more handsome with this picture than my real face. So I think it's better for you to be seeing the picture than.
Yeah, I hope I heard you fine with that.
It's just the internet. It's the internet I'm looking at, so that it doesn't break, it doesn't go down because it seems to be fluctuating. But so I hope you can see my face now.
Yes, we can. Yes, sir.
Okay. It's not very, very clear, but I'm trying to just give me 1 minute. So today we are looking at corporate social responsibility from compliance to competitive advantage. So let me first of all thank the NESG for the work they are doing in terms of engaging Nigerians, bringing about innovative policies that will help to create a more inclusive and sustainable Nigeria. So, good afternoon again, esteemed guests, business leaders, and all those who are interested in issues of sustainability. I'm sure we all know that sustainability is Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Sorry. Sorry, I think I'm having small. So I was saying that I'm sure we all know that issue of sustainability is becoming increasingly important across different organizations, across different societies. We're also hearing about climate change. We're also hearing about climate risk. And we also, so many things. This morning, we had a workshop on how to green e-commerce. So there are views that e-commerce is becoming a very, very significant subsector of our economy. However, e-commerce comes with the kind of packaging, the bikes that deliver, all those things contribute to issues of sustainability.
Prof, I think we missed you for a bit. So yeah, I think you can actually take your video off so that it doesn't really just disrupt the flow. Yes.
Yeah, I think that as I said before, the internet is not very strong. Is it better now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was saying that early this morning, I'm not sure where you stopped, but I said this morning we had a workshop on greening e-commerce. How do we put some green how do you put some green in e-commerce and why it matters for Nigeria? And during that workshop, we looked at different issues by saying that e-commerce is a very, very significant or becoming a very significant sector of our economy in terms of the volume of items being bought and sold through e-commerce. And of course, all the items being bought and sold are packaged using different packaging products. The bikes that deliver, the cars that deliver, they're also emitting all kinds of emission, carbon, and all that. So we are thinking that it's important to green it, which relates to the issue of sustainability. So it's quite interesting that the issue of sustainability is becoming to make sense to so many people. So it's an honor to address you today as we explore how businesses can transform sustainability from a regulatory checkbox into a powerful driver of innovation, profitability, and long-term value. I remember when I was the director of Lagos Business School Sustainability Center, and when you talk to companies, there is a kind of reluctance to appreciate and embrace issues of sustainability. Some of them that were willing to engage at that time were just engaging just for compliance purposes. So before you know it, they will call you and say, we need to submit a report. Can you do something on sustainability so that we can just one day, we don't want more than one day, so that we can use it as to submit our report for our regulation. So it was purely on compliance, just from compliance point of view. It is very interesting now that a lot of firms, that's from compliance, they are now moving to say, oh, this sustainability actually makes sense. it can actually be a competitive advantage. So when people hear corporate sustainability, many people normally talk about maybe it's remote work, maybe it's green office space, or maybe it's a hybrid setup. But of course, we all agree, and we are seeing now that corporate social responsibility, corporate sustainability is far more profound. It is bigger than what we think. It is deeper. It is even at the center of our lives, at the center of our businesses, and also supposed to be at the center of governance. That's why we said it's about embedding environmental, social, and governance principles into the heart of what we do as a people, as business, as society. It requires moving beyond compliance to more or less a purposeful driven mission that balances profit with positive impact on people and planet. That is why we talk about responsible business, that this firm is a responsible firm. Interestingly also, it is becoming very clear that firms that are pursuing sustainability or that are integrating sustainability into what they do are actually more profitable in both medium to long term as compared to firms that are not interested in the issue of sustainability. So if firm A is interested in sustainability and firm B is not interested, and they are doing the same thing in similar market, similar size of firm, and firm A is becoming more profitable than firm B, it then suggests that firm A that is interested that sustainability is a key advantage for that firm A, which now makes it imperative for firm B to appreciate what firm A is doing. So if I look at take it from corporate governance and look at the 4 P's of corporate governance, we're talking about people, purpose, process, and performance. People talks about investors, employees, customers, lenders, suppliers, consultants, local people, auditors. Purpose talks about vision, mission, objective, strategy, plans, day-to-day, firefighting, and all that. Then we talk about process, that is business processes, integration, resources, supply chain, energy, crisis, risk compliance, and management. When these 3 P's are properly aligned and sustainability is properly embedded, you see performance, which now talks about measurement, benchmarking, diversification, quality assurance, compliance assurance, whistleblowing, and all that. So it might also interest us to know that sustainable or ESG-linked assets now exceed $30 trillion globally and could reach 40 trillion by 2030. You know, when we call this kind of amount, I'm not sure we will be able to comprehend it properly. So we're talking about 30 trillion globally. Our budget as a country is about 30-something billion dollars. So we're talking about 30 trillion, not billion. So that will help us to understand what we are trying to do. So today, we all learn, or we will share a kind of how this integration of sustainability can help refine the business and how it can help us to make our business more competitive, innovative, and resilient. And as I talked about the 3 P's, about the people, the profit, and the planet, the environment tells us that when you bring all this, it's about creating long-term value by integrating eco-friendly practices with social equity and economic soundness. We all know that environmental is in terms of sustainable use of natural resources, pollution prevention, energy efficiency, and environmental protection. The social talks about raising standard of living, ensuring equity and inclusion, improving education, and strengthening communities. The economic drive in terms of profitability, which we all know, achieving operational savings, creating jobs, and investing in innovation. And where these three intersect, we see powerful forces at play. Where we see people, firms that are interested in what's happening to the environment, which we call environmental justice. There will be sense of ownership in terms of natural resources, which we call natural resource stewardship. There is something that we call efficient economies, underpinned by incentives and smart policies. But the real question that we also want us to focus on today is, how do we break even and even grow while taking sustainability seriously? So there are so many things that we need to consider. I remember in one of the firms that we engaged, when we talked about this sustainability, they didn't really understand it until we now looked at it from the different issues that the global economy is facing, the different issues that Nigeria is facing, different social challenges that we have in Africa. And then we now started seeing and say, okay, even from these social problems, there are immense business opportunities. So we talked from issues of poverty, we talked from issues of land issues, child education, slave labor, food insecurity, women inclusion, and gender equality. We talked about sustainable agriculture. Now we are having issues in Nigeria with regards to poverty, multidimensional poverty. We're having issues of nutrition, which we are hearing that is a big issue emerging in northern Nigeria, with Katsina State Medicines of Frontiers have told us that there's an imminent crisis with regards to malnutrition. We're talking about housing deficits. In terms of many people, many Nigerians don't have where to stay. They don't have food to eat. We're talking about migration. Nigerians leaving Nigeria and moving to Europe, all in search of better life. Then we're talking about the issue of health, water pollution, HIV issues, rule of law, issues happening in organizations, human rights, corporate crime and fraud. All these are issues that we identified with the firms that we engaged and some of other firms that we've engaged. And by the time we did this, they now started seeing, oh, that this thing is serious. So we told them that social issues include healthcare, that they should look at it from a social perspective. Healthcare, education, affordable housing. We don't have to look at it from maintaining a social license to operate. What of their health and safety standards? How do they align their interests with that of the shareholders and other stakeholders? Should they just be considering profit maximization? Are there other stakeholders, including the employees? How do they see employees as their greatest asset? Not just seeing them as tools through which they can use to achieve profit. We explained to them the need for engaging the stakeholders. The stakeholders include the government, the consumers, the employees, the shareholders, the community, and that shareholders can be considered as any firm that your activities indirectly or directly affects. We asked them, How are they paying the employees? Are they paying them well? Do you know the employees are happy? In terms of categories of engagement, we have employees who are fully engaged. We have employees that are disengaged. And we have employees who are actively disengaged. And what are the factors causing disengagement and active disengagement? We also told them what of issues of land rights in terms of how you buy land, in terms of how you ensure that you have land rights in Nigeria, indigenous rights. In terms of also, we talked about the issue of accessibility and social inclusion, service reliability. How do we ensure that our people in the rural areas actually have even access to minimal health issues, education, and all that? Talked about diversity and anti-discrimination. And of course, we all know that the issue of cybersecurity is a big issue. By the time we finish this, all I've identified now relates to social consideration that firm is supposed to take into consideration. Do you pay your employees as at when due? Do you treat them nicely? So we now told them also, are they aware that in terms of governance, that are supposed to ensure that if you have a board, there's supposed to be a board independence, and how do you manage conflict of interests? How do you ensure that the board and management appreciate the issue of sustainability? What of issues of supply chain issues? How do we ensure that even those who have family businesses, that there's transparency and accountability? How do we ensure that they appreciate the negative impacts of bribery and corruption? And now we have tax reforms. How do we ensure that people appreciate the contents and the issues with regards to the new tax reform in terms of the tax policy? We also explain to them, do they know that strategy and risk are two sides of the same coin? That if you understand your risk and you manage the risk very well, it means that you are increasing your profitability. So we talked about environmental, which I've mentioned earlier on, resource scarcity, degradation, climate issues, and all that. By the time they finished, they said, oh, do you mean that all these things are within ESG? Do you mean that all these things are within sustainability? And we said yes. We say that in terms of energy supply, how do we ensure that we have green energy? We mentioned to them that in Lagos Business School, we're increasingly adopting green energy by having solar energy that now accounts for close to 40% of what we need, or what we use. We told them about that as you're traveling. I mentioned about e-commerce before. How do you ensure that you can improve your fuel efficiency? These are opportunities that we are mentioning now. Food and agriculture. I mean, there are so many opportunities there. In terms of housing, better insulation, consumer purchasing, sustainable investing. So by the time they finish, they now also say that, oh, we didn't know that this issue of sustainability is like this. They said that, okay, that it means that we can actually tap into this area and improve our competitive advantage. There are so many opportunities in sustainability. So what I'm trying to emphasize is that sustainability is not just about compliance. Sustainability brings about opportunities for competitive advantage. And it's important that firms appreciate this and now tap into this. It's purely out of limited appreciation and understanding that people will be saying that sustainability is just about compliance. Not at all. Sustainability is actually integrated and embedded in profit making. And once you appreciate what sustainability is all about, you will see your organization or your firm doing well. So how do we move from compliance to competitive advantage? Sustainability is no longer a nice to have. It is a strategic imperative. Because the world is changing fast, it will also interest us to know that according to Cone Communications, I was reading something recently, and I picked up the information that 64% of millennials won't take a job if the company lacks strong social and environmental values. You know, these young people, they even read about these things more than us. So they're now asking that if you are not following social and environmental values, we will not work for you, because many of them have choices now. So it means that if we want to create a pipeline of good employees, we must actually move to this issue of sustainability. It's also suggesting that if we don't involve sustainability in what we are doing, we might really not be competitive. So let's look at the issue of consumer demand. Today, many consumers are value-driven. They reward companies that align with social and environmental causes. They choose transparency and purpose over price. We talk about regulatory pressure. Governments, both local and international, are introducing tax incentives, emission caps, and ESG disclosure frameworks. Compliance is no longer optional. So they are asking you to do this. So it means that if you want to remain in the business, you must do it, because it's even to your own advantage. Investor expectations. Investors increasingly screen portfolios for ESG performance, and strong ESG ratings signal resilience, attract capital, and improve risk-adjusted returns. As at 2023, global sustainable investment exceeded $35 trillion. That is as at 2023, representing over 36% of all professionally managed assets. I'm talking about asset managers, institutional investors, all this one, that it exceeded 35 trillion. If we remember that let me emphasize, all sovereign investment funds we have in Africa is just about $100 billion. All, I'm talking about all. Then all our pension funds in Africa manage about $600 billion. Then all Africans in diaspora remit about $100 billion. That's about $800 billion. I'm talking about Africa, not Nigeria. Then all the central banks in Africa, our foreign reserves is about $400 billion. So if I add everything, I'm talking about 1.2 trillion, just 1.2 trillion. But we are seeing that as of 2023, sustainable investment exceeded 35 trillion. Meanwhile, the whole of Africa, what we have from pension, sovereign fund, foreign reserve is just about 1.2 trillion. What this suggests is that if you're in this current global economy, this is the right direction. And there are even more evidences that sustainability is profitable. Energy efficient operations lower utility bills. According to recent studies, once you have energy efficient initiatives, it yields an average of return on investment of about 25%, especially in manufacturing and real estate. Sustainable supply chain reduce risk exposure. A credible ESG record boosts brand value and attracts top talent. As we said, you find out these younger ones, they will even ask you, what are you doing with regards to sustainability? It means that by embedding sustainability into our core business strategy, we're not just complying, we are innovating, we are differentiating, and we are winning. It is the right strategy and it is the right direction to follow. The strategic value of sustainability. So if you look at today's corporate trend driving profitability, companies that make a strategic approach to ESG realize tangible gains in 3 major dimensions. I'm breaking it down further. So firms that go into this space, they achieve something in 3 major areas. One is operational excellence and cost saving, because they reduce waste, energy, and inefficiencies that save money. Example, Firms adopting energy efficient technologies cut costs by up to 30%. I'm just showing how sustainability is not about compliance. It enhances profitability, revenue growth, and market access. Sustainable brands command higher loyalty and pricing power. Green credentials open access to premium markets and government contracts. In terms of risk mitigation, climate shocks, policy changes, social unrest are real threats. Sustainability builds business continuity and stakeholder trust. So, re-emphasizing, it's not about compliance. It helps you to become more profitable. If the primary aim of a business, of a firm is the old version, is to make profit, it means that sustainability is a profit enhancer. So we are witnessing a proven shift in how companies approach sustainability. Let me just highlight some of the most transformative trends reshaping business strategy. Net zero commitments. Global companies are committing to carbon neutrality. This is not just good PR, it's a business imperative. Circular economy. Waste is becoming a resource. Business are designing products for reusability and longevity. I remember in some years back, I think it's the Netherlands embassy. We had a meeting with them. I can't remember the embassy. I think it's Netherlands. So they said that they did a survey of Lagos waterways, and they discovered that the waste dump we have in Lagos water can actually be a big source of raw materials for their circular economy. So what we consider as waste is what some firms and some economies are considering as source of raw materials. Enterprises are factoring climate risk into business continuity and insurance decisions. So sustainability supply chain, transparent, ethical, and low-impact sourcing is becoming a precondition for global partnerships. AI, Internet of Things, data analytics now track energy use, emissions, and supply chain behaviors in real time, and they report it for certain things you do. I also know that some firms, when they want to engage some people outside Nigeria, few of them have approached us to write a recommendation letter for them to show that they're very sustainable. And they normally submit some reports to us and say, please write for us and recommend for us so that we can use it to engage these people, or even sometimes they are looking to get an award. Social equity and regenerative practices. Companies are addressing diversity, local empowerment, and even ecosystem restoration, not just sustainability, but regeneration. Stakeholder engagement and well-being. Co-creating solutions with employees, customers, and communities is strengthening brands and cultures. Where sustainability was once a reactive, it is now proactive. And previously was isolated, it is now strategically embedded. Where it was about accountability, it is now about transparency and innovation. Let me briefly talk about the regulatory landscape before I conclude. We now must consider the external forces accelerating this transition. The regulatory landscape is also evolving rapidly. As I said, even in Nigeria, before submitting, showing that you've done sustainability might not really be an issue. But now, from our experience, firms are now coming to us and say, please come and do something for us on sustainability. You can imagine e-commerce people now having a workshop on saying, how do we include sustainability in our packaging, in our business, in our everything that we do. So disclosure requirements expanding. Indirect emissions are also becoming an issue. Financial sector integration, banks and investors are embedding ESG metrics into credit terms, valuation, and portfolio construction. So if you go to apply for loan in some banks, even in Nigeria now, I remember we were doing something for some banks last month, and we asked them, do you demand ESG report of firms before you grant credit? They said yes, that is becoming something that is very important. So it means that capital is flowing climate responsibility. Where there is climate responsibility, capital flows there. It means that if businesses that fail to align with sustainability risk becoming uninvestable. People will not bring money to you. So how we need to build competitive advantage through sustainability capabilities. The most successful companies treat sustainability as a capability, not a compliance choice. And let me just mention 3 differentiators. Technology-enabled ESG movement. Leading firms deploy digital platforms, AI to track carbon, waste and social impacts. There is also a cross-functional integration. Sustainability is not about our CSR team. No, it's beyond it. Sustainability must now flow across different units of the organization, from procurement to finance, from finance to HR, from HR to R&D, to customer service, to risk management and strategy. We must all appreciate the value of circular economy innovation. We have to think beyond recycling, circular design, reverse logistics, and resource e-use models are creating an entirely new business model. I read something from recently from, I think, UNDP. Now, the circular economy can unlock $4.5 trillion value by 2030. So those that are not aware of circular economy should go and look at it and see how they can tap into this opportunity of $4.5 trillion. So in concluding, let me just itemize in terms of what we are supposed to do in terms of best practice for profitability through sustainability. How can we improve our sustainability? Sorry, how can we improve our profitability through sustainability? One is you have to set clear goals. We must define measurable sustainability objectives. One example, reduce emissions by 25% by 2027, 2028, 2029, and align them with SDGs. We know our sustainable development goals. Interestingly, this even becomes more important for us in Nigeria because we've not met with any of the sustainable development goals, not even one. So it means that this is a call for all of us to involve. 2, we must integrate ESG into our core strategy. Make sustainability a strategic anchor, secure executive buy-in, and empower employees to innovate and lead. Monitor and report transparently. Share progress openly with stakeholders, build trusts, own the narrative, and also collaborate with stakeholders. In terms of implementation roadmap, you must clarify your ambition. Are you aiming for compliance or leadership? You must build the foundation, develop the systems, governance, and tech capabilities. You must advance to value creation, design green products, services, and experiences. You must achieve market leadership, influence policy, and all that. In terms of the future, numbers speak. 72% of executives now report regulatory and investor pressure on ESG. Reinvestors, those integrating sustainability and innovation, are more or less projected to achieve the 7% points higher revenue growth by 2026. Companies that embrace this reinvention see a 20.9% annual profit margin. A meta-analysis found that around 90% of studies report a non-negative and often positive link between ESG and financial performance. This means that sustainability is not the enemy of profit. I think from research, from experience, from engagement, it is an enabler. The way forward, as a final conclusion, is that the transition from compliance to competitive advantage is a journey, but it is one worth taking. When we embrace sustainability, we are not just meeting regulations. I think that you will be unlocking innovation. You'll be driving efficiency, you'll be building resilience, and you'll be winning trust. you are building a business that thrives, not just for yourself, but for people, for profit, and for the planet. And as we continue this conversation, let's not just talk about sustainability. Let's make it our advantage. I believe that with these few points of mine, as we normally say when we do debates in secondary school, that I've been able to convince you, not to confuse you, on the importance of sustainability, and it is a profitable way to go. So thank you very much for listening, and let us build this future together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Prof. Let's have our, is it clapping emojis for Prof right now? Thank you so much, sir. This has been really, really, really insightful. And thank you so much for breaking it down for us. Literally, my notepad is quite full. So before I go ahead, I want us to drop our questions. If you have questions for Prof. Franklin, please let's drop it in the chat room and so we can tend to it. Like I said at the beginning of the session, this is a knowledge sharing session. We are here to learn things that are great to us, right? We have the Prof here to help us, make it even clearer, right? So please let's drop our questions in the chat room. So this has really been insightful, Prof. Thank you so much. And I mean, key takes for me, right? The fact that, sustainability needs to be strategically embedded into core processes within organizations right now. It is not, oh, I think we can try and just incorporate this. No, it is important to incorporate it. Like Prof said, if you are keen on profit making, right, these are one of the things that need to be fully embedded in your processes within your organization. Or even businesses, right? So running businesses, you're an entrepreneur, this needs to be managed, this needs to be incorporated going forward. And the fact that it is a strategic imperative that you can't even shove aside anymore, because one, it opens the door to operational excellence and cost saving. It helps to grow revenue, right, within organizations and even give them access to market opportunities. It helps to mitigate risk. Quite a number of things that Prof has mentioned here. And of course, best practices, like Prof said, it is important for each and every one of us, organization-wise or thereabout, to set clear goals, smart goals, let it be specific, measurable, time-bound, and the likes of it. Let's also align whatever strategic goals we have in our organization. Let us align it to the SDG goals. So it's even easier for us, right, to work in line with that, and then we're able to see results. Of course, integrate it into our core strategies within our organizations. Let us monitor and report transparency and collaborate with stakeholders, your employees, clients, vendors, whatever it is, the economy, the society. Let's, collaborate with them so we're just able to achieve that which has been set. This has really been good. Thank you so much, Prof. So please let's have your questions in the chat room. I was thinking out, I've seen a number of questions right now. Or if you'd like to speak, you can unmute and ask Prof. The questions. We have like about 10 minutes for that, about 7 minutes thereabouts. So we can release Prof to to get on other businesses for the day. Okay, there's a question here. For Prof, you said, can a copy of the paper be shared in our email? We would need to ask Prof that. Is he willing to share that? Oh, by the way, I'm just about to share a feedback survey form, just so we have insights on how you feel about the webinar. And also let's have your emails so that we can share a recording just in case you want to go back and watch. And also if Prof agrees that he can share this with us, we can now share this paper with you via your email. So the next question, sir, Prof, let me read this out for you. Esther Unkopi texts you, Prof, for the lecture. She says, do the organizations you have been engaging with address the sustainability issues through CSR? Prof, I hope you heard that question.
Yes, I saw it and I read it as well. So thank you very much, Esther. So in terms of addressing these issues through CSR, that's what firms were doing before when we started. That should be like about 10 years ago now. About 8 to 10 years ago now. They will say, oh, we have a CSR team. So they treat it as a CSR something. But gradually it's changing. So many firms are now having sustainability officer. They are now having units that really handle sustainability. They are now saying that this is really important. Some of them are even forming committees where you have HR, strategy, and risk people now handling sustainability. So they will have somebody who more or less drives it, but they use it, this committee now engages with the person from time to time, and they actually report to the board sometimes. So they provide regular reports to the board during board meetings. And so the initial start was CSR, but because of the values, because of the profits that you can achieve from sustainability, it's now an integral part of many organizations. And they're also saying that once you do this, it enhances your profitability. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Esther, I hope that answered your question. We have a couple of questions in the chat room, but before I get to that, sir, I'd like Folakemi to speak, please. You can unmute and speak here.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Prof. Really nice delivery. Well, I have a question for you.
Yes.
You know, there was this program on CNN some time back, companies that are 100 years old. You know, so my question to you is, if there are companies that have been 100 years old, and all this that we are talking about is just a new thing in the ecosystem, what are the factors that kept those businesses to be 100 years old? Maybe these are the things that the people have been doing, but now we are just giving it a new name. We are putting it in the forefront so that people will say this is it. Because for me, if a business is over 100 years old, they must be doing something right. So I really want you to link that to the dispensation we are in, that the ecosystem is different. We have different names for different things. Before it is CSR, now it's sustainability, it's circular economy. It's too many jargons, honestly. So I would really like you to talk about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, you more or less, thank you for Folakemi. You more or less helped me to answer the question. To be honest, sustainability has been there for ages, even in our villages. So if you look at all the top firms that have stayed in generations to generations, they all have very, very significant sustainability activities. But even if we return to our villages, we've been practicing sustainable behaviors. So I remember that when we were growing up, my grandmom normally will preserve certain things on top of his cooking. There's something like a mat on top of where the firewood cooks the food. And she would put a lot of things there. And we normally ask her, why are you doing that? And she will say that these things will stay till next year, till 2 years, as the case may be. So there is clear sustainability in what she was doing. And also, when you finish eating certain things, they will say, no, don't put it in dust. Don't put it in where you throw other dustbins. Like when you take orange or banana, or mango, and they will say, put it here. Throw it in the farm. It will grow, and we'll take it and we'll now plant it properly. And we did. And interestingly, you see avocado, orange, all those. Those are very minimal sustainability practices that were being done that time, which today they are part of the ecosystem. I also remember that just from my parents as well, when people work for you, it's a taboo that people work for you and you don't pay them as at when due. So that is sustainability, looking after employees properly, engaging with them. It's also a taboo in some places that they entrust money with you and you embezzle the money. That is sustainability. So while this sustainability has been there, sometimes we might not have called it what it is, but now maybe because of the Western advocacy and domination, we are now appreciating the impacts. I also remember in erosion side, they will say, let's plant trees. Those are sustainability. So, you know, these are things that we do, but we haven't really would like to documented it properly and given it the appropriate name. Remember also that if you meet some of these, our old CEOs, they were very transparent and accountable. That is sustainability. And that's why people still I remember that in Metropolitan Club in Lagos, they normally invite some of them to come and talk. And they normally share the experiences of when they were growing up, what they did and all that. But now, maybe we are now bringing it together and calling it a proper name, sustainability. But it's been existing before. And for those old companies that you think that have stayed for a long time, if you ask them and investigate what they were doing, it's purely sustainability as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So we have about 5 questions in the chat room, and we will just focus on those 5 questions. I'm gonna have Prof just answer them as brief as possible, so we don't, overshoot the time. So, Prof, this is from Dr. Rowan Hadirinto. It said, please, what are the external forces that could mitigate the adoption of sustainability by the MSMEs?
Is it
Is it militate? I'm thinking it's mitigate. I don't want to say, or even if it's militate.
Dr. Rowan, could you clarify, please? Is it external force that could mitigate the adoption or militate, or is it to, I'm trying to understand.
Dr. Rowan, you can unmute, please, so we just get more clarity on the question. Okay, or maybe we just move on and we can get back to it, Prof.
Okay.
So the next question is, what tools can be used to measure carbon emissions?
Oh, there's so many tools available. But I normally prefer to answer certain questions from a very practical point of view. So in the sense that we look at our environment and we say, what can we do differently to get certain things properly done? So if we talk about mitigating tools to measure carbon emissions, there are so many of them. So, but let's use, for example, your vehicle. What kind of fuel do you use? Do you consider not using the car sometimes? In your house, how do you use electricity? Do you have a generator? Do you have solar? Are you on band A or band? I mean, different bands that we have in Nigeria and all that. So I'm talking about practical something that we can use to check and say, okay, how are we doing in these areas? So if we're able to do that, we can also, okay, we are really reducing our carbon emissions. As I mentioned earlier on in LBS, we now moved from main electricity to solar, which we now are also increasing the use. But in terms of formal tools that people use, I mean, there's what we call carbon footprint calculator, which some people normally use to check what they are doing. So also for businesses, they are also what they call GHG protocol tools. We also have climate API tools. And for different industries, for example, hotels, they have their own. For cloud and infrastructure, they have their own. So hotels have what they call Hotel Carbon Measurement Initiative tool. It's designed for hotels to calculate emissions per room. So what kind of emissions is coming from a room, meeting space, or the energy use. And it requires inputs of electricity consumption, the laundry and renewable energy. We also have G-residence tools, and it estimates helps you to estimate greenhouse emissions. We also have, for cloud and tech infrastructure, they also have cloud carbon footprint. So it depends on the industry that you are in. Then that will enable you to choose the right tool to use. But as I said, for individuals, it's something that we do even in our houses. you also, as I said, we also have the carbon footprint calculator. It's normally a user-friendly tool to estimate personal or household carbon emissions, with options to offset emissions by supporting environmental projects and all that. If you are using high energy bulb and you reduce and now put low energy bulbs, and you notice that your consumption has reduced, it means that you are measuring, is a tool that you're using to measure it. So there are different tools, but it depends on industry and also on the sector and what you are trying to achieve and the kind of emission you are trying to measure as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Patricia, I hope that answered your question. Moving on, there's a question from Osita. So he said sectoral approach in adopting sustainability could be challenging. For instance, tons of papers are needlessly printed in litigation nationwide. They are worsened by large font sizes and line spacing. Prof, can you recommend what we could approach some of these institutional changes? The question is not really clear.
I think I can deduce the question. Maybe if I answer, I think you're correct in the sense that if you are a lawyer, you will understand what Osita is saying in terms of, you know, the printing that they do and all that. Maybe in some schools still is about printing, handouts, all those things. So I'm sure some of you that finished from public institutions, public universities, during exam, a lot of photocopying, a lot of printing. Having a photocopying machine in a university is normally a profitable business. However, it's about advocacy for people to start changing and adopting some of these things. So for instance, in LBS, we've reduced our printing significantly. So most things that we do now, we do it electronically. So our participants know that they will log into what we call a learning management system to print all their cases, to read all their cases, not print, read all their cases. Even during exam, they can write the exam electronically and submit electronically. You can mark it electronically and all that. So for our judiciary, I know that there have been efforts to upgrade them in terms of their training to be able to do some of the things that they do manually, physically. So to be able to do some of the things that they do normally do manually, electronically. So this is an ongoing effort. Remember also that, as Bolakemi said, is new, but it's not really new. So some people are embracing it. Some people are still old school. So it's a gradual process that before people will now fully embrace the issue of sustainability in terms of, for instance, printing and all that, particularly as I said, in our legal and judiciary system. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. I don't know if it's Mr. but Osita, I hope that answered your question. Next one, sir, from Rennie. How is the regulatory body measuring corporates towards the achievement of SDG goals? I want to believe that's what you wanted to type. Are there rewards and penalties for achievements or otherwise? And she also said, I also believe that government rewarding at an individual or household level can support and drive the knowledge and execution at a larger corporate or business level. Is the government exploring this as a driving mechanism?
I think that the government, in our engagement with some of the regulators, some of them, the issue of sustainability is also new to them. We've engaged some of the regulatory agencies, helping them to develop their sustainability framework. So, of course, they need to understand it before they now send it to the firms that they regulate. Some regulators are also a bit up and doing with regards to this space. As we all know, a lot of firms now in different sectors, like for example, financial services, you need to submit a report showing your sustainability performance. And also, they've also ensured that for you to get a loan now in certain categories, you have to show your sustainability activities and all that. So it's improving, it's coming. However, we still have a lot of work to do because many regulators are still not clear how their framework should work. We worked with a regulator in the power sector, and they are still developing it, which I believe that they will now use it to engage the firms that they regulate shortly. So it's a work in progress, but some of them are more or less engaging the firms that are regulating just for them to appreciate and understand the value of sustainability before they now start talking about penalties or compliance and all that. However, firms are also appreciating that for you to have partnership with some organizations outside Nigeria, that this is required. Because for you to attract certain funds, the fund managers will ask you, submit your sustainability performance, which they will consider before they partner with you. Also, I also remember that some organizations before. Hello? I also know that some organizations that for them to do anything with you, they must verify, check those who are on your board to know the way people on your board behave, the kind of activity that they have and all that. So these are all works in progress that firms, individuals, regulatory agencies, rating agencies, investors, they're all having different ways through which they are advocating, pushing, engaging firms to adopt more sustainable issues. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Reddy, I hope that answered your question. Two more questions, Prof. Okay, this is from Professor Chinedu, and it's in 2 bits. So, Prof. Chinedu said, I'm interested to know how sustainability can be effectively incorporated within corporate Nigeria and other sectors. Is this best achieved through policy, legislation, or a combination of both? Secondly, he says, I'm aware that in some other countries, it is common practice for companies to appoint a sustainability officer or manager and to establish dedicated sustainability structures. You would be keen to understand the current approaches within Nigeria and whether similar roles and policies are emerging here as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. I hope that Prof is not looking for a research topic for his next paper, because the way the questions are framed, it shows a very interesting research topic. Yes, the Prof. So Prof, once you do the paper and the thing is published, please acknowledge me that I'm one of the ones that contributed to the development of this paper. But with regards to the first question, he said, is it best achieved through policy, legislation, or a combination of both? I think both and more. In the sense that, I mean, when you have a policy, I think there's also need for advocacy and also incentives. Because the issue of sustainability is not something that you need to push people to do. Is people that are not doing sustainability, they are not doing it because maybe they are ignorant or maybe they are not properly informed of the benefit of sustainability. Sustainability is in our self-interest. So we have erosion everywhere in Nigeria, in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, even in places where you don't have erosion. We are now having erosion. It's the issue of sustainability. We have rain coming now around October. It's the issue of sustainability. So it's not something that we need to force people. It's just explaining somebody. It's like somebody that has malaria. You are not supposed to be told to go and take medication, because if you don't, you might die. So sustainability is the way to go for us as a people, as a country. But because we have limited knowledge of what it is, that's where we might need policy or legislation. But I think that we need to do more of advocacy, explaining to people on the benefits of sustainability, on the profitability opportunities of sustainability. And by the time they do it, we can also give them incentive to start. Like when you want a kid to do something, you might give the kid a sweet or popcorn or ice cream. And once you do that, the kid will now start doing what you want him or her to do. And gradually they will now be asking more, Daddy, can we do this more? Can we do this more? Meanwhile, at the beginning, you were begging them to do it. So I think it will require policy, legislation, incentive, engagement, advocacy, just for us to have a better discussion on the benefits of sustainability. Because I believe it is the way to go. It's so beneficial. There's a lot of opportunities for us. So with regards to the second one, yes, I think I said it earlier on, some firms are now beginning to appoint a sustainability officer. In fact, in Lagos Business School, we've lost about 2 or 3 of our employees to other firms in Nigeria. So they will come to our sustainability center and say and employ the people that are working for us. So it is increasing. It's not that we are happy, we are concerned, but we are happy because it means that our work is now fruiting somewhere. Meaning that they are now appreciating it. So they have a sustainability officer, sometimes with a direct report to the board. So firms that are taking it very, very serious. The direct report to the board and say, this thing is happening when we send the report to you. Sometimes they also have a committee involving strategy, risk, and HR. So these 3 people normally come together and become a sustainability committee with one person appointed as a sustainability officer. Some firms have also expanded to have more people, that maybe 5, 6, 10 people as a sustainability department because of what sustainability covers. So it's emerging, is encouraging, is developing, and I think is the right way to go. Prof, I hope I have answered it. Remember what we agreed, that I'm one of the contributors indirectly to the paper or to the papers. Maybe it's a book, sir, that we don't know.
Thank you so much, sir. Prof. Chinedu. Thank you for your question, and I hope Prof. Franklin was able to make more clarity to that question. So the last bit, sir, going back to the person that asked if you could share a copy of, I think, the paper you mentioned earlier, if it could be shared. So is that something that is possible? You'd like to know?
Let me think about it. I think from the questions that we answered, I think we've clarified many things, but people, the conversation has been very, very encouraging. So I will consider it positively. My only concern that if you send the papers now, Professor Chinedu will receive it and it will enhance his paper publication. That's my only concern, but I will send it. Everybody will receive it, including Professor Chinedu.
Okay, so please, if you'd like to receive that when Prof shares with me, please fill the feedback form so I'm able to have your email addresses and I can just, disperse to everyone. So before we round up, I'd like to just, open the floor for like 1 or 2 comments just to back up what we've discussed so far. If there are anything additions you want to just make to this conversation, please you can unmute and just, your contribution to this topic. We can have that before we round up. Finally, do we have anybody that wants to speak? Do we have anyone? You can just unmute.
Yeah.
And okay.
Can I ask the prof, can we recoin sustainability as values? Because I think that we even make it more personal and more integrity driven.
I completely agree with you. Is the right value to have, actually. It's something I totally agree with you. Is value, is the right thing, is the right behavior to have, is the right way to do things individually, firm-wise, nationally, and otherwise. Is the right value to have. So I totally agree with you that we can make it a value-driven something to say it is right. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
Can we have one more contribution before we call it a day?
Nafiu,
Ahmad, do you want to say something?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you for having us at this platform. I want to appreciate you for making this summit a reality, and also want to thank Prof so much for the wealth of knowledge he shared to us today. From the corner of the north of Katsina State. I'm very happy that I attend this Zoom meeting for this summit. And we thank you very much. May God increase you in all your endeavors in life. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you very much, Nafiu. Now go there.
Now go there, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you so much, Prof, for the wealth of knowledge that you've shared, the deep insight that you've shared with us today. We really do appreciate you. And to everyone, once again, thank you. Like I said earlier at the beginning of the session, this is monthly, where we bring, distinguished speakers like Prof, professionals in their field to speak on different topics in their focus area, key area, the different sectors. So we learn, right? It's more of a knowledge sharing session for everyone that may not even have had direct access to Prof, but here we have access to him and we're able to learn from him. So keep up with us on our social channels on LinkedIn, Instagram, X, to be at par with us with the different initiatives that we're currently running, and to even be aware when our next webinar is. It's usually the last Wednesday of the month, by the way. So please, and also for the form that I shared in the chat room, please feel give us your feedback. And also that way I'm able to have your email addresses to share Prof's paper when he shares it with me. So thank you, everyone, and let's have a wonderful day. Thank you.